Okay, so my name is Alex and I am a PhD student at Queen Mary University of London. I'm part of the Prepared Minds lab with Dr. Elisabetta Versace here. And I study bees and time processing, so how bees can understand something about time.
My name is Elisabetta Versace. I'm a senior lecturer at Queen Mary University of London, where I lead a lab that is called Prepared Minds Lab, and we study the minds of different animals and even robots. Rodents and macaques, which are both mammals, are animals that we know are able to process the duration of time. However, nobody tested something with the flashing light, instead with insects. So insects are the new frontier for understanding behavior and cognition, which is the way in which the brain represents the external world.
Okay, so bees are a really good test subject to use for a few reasons. One of the main reasons is they have this behavior where they forage. So they leave the colony, they go outside to find food, which they bring back to the colony. And they do this multiple times. So they go out, they come back. And so they're useful to use in experiments because when they go out to look for food, or in the lab, when they leave the colony, we can manipulate where they find the food and the environment of where they find the food. And also there's a lot of studies that have been done in the past with bees, and so we have a foundation of knowledge to work from as well.
It's interesting because they are so good in communication, and communication is one of the domains where it's important to keep track of time and duration. And also they are good in navigation, which is the way in which you go around in the world. And so it's very interesting because insects keep track of the speed based on how quickly things move for their site. And so this is called optic flow. And to keep track of optic flow, you also need to keep track of time. And so we thought that they are good in communication and they are good in navigation. They are social insects. And so we thought they also go back and forth multiple times. So maybe they are a good species to start with. Yes, in this experiment, we have a nest where the bees have to come back for foraging, and some chambers where they can find the food, and close to the food there are different flashing lights. So some bees saw the fast flashing light close to the good food, which is very sweet, and instead the long flashing light was associated with this bitter food they don't really like. And for other bees, we did the opposite. And so the bees went back and forth multiple times in different chambers. And in these chambers, the location of the good food was always different. And so the only way for them to reliably locate the presence of the good food was to remember that the certain duration of light, either short or long, was associated with the good food. And so after they went back and forth multiple times, then it was time for us to test if without any olfactory cues or visual cues different from the flashing lights, they could solve the task. So we removed the sucrose solution and the bitter food, and we just left the flashing lights with the plain water. And so this was a way for us to test if the bees had learned the differences between short and long durations of the flashing lights that were the only cues, that only stimuli that now were present in the chambers. There are different things that we can look at. And so one is to search for different and other abilities to process time. Can be the order, can be the complexity of the patterns, can be the different durations, can be the ability to generalize, which means to go beyond what they have strictly learned during the training phase. And that is one way to look at their behavior and their cognitive abilities. And another way is to look at their brains, as you mentioned. The human brain is much bigger. We have 84 billion neurons, which is not the case for bees. But it's very interesting that mini brains can process time. And so another third way would be to look at artificial intelligence and see how we can improve artificial intelligence, taking inspiration from insects.
I came to study a bit later in life. Before coming to here, I was working in a completely different area. But I was always interested in animals and animal biology. And it came to a point where one day I thought, I really want to pursue this, to follow this. And so I enrolled in a course to do a zoology degree. And I had the opportunity, while I was doing my degree, to work with Elisabetta here, with the bees. And I've always been fascinated by insects, and this is how I started. And yeah, I got hooked because they're super interesting. The subject was really interesting. And so, yeah, and then I decided to go on to do a PhD, and here I am. Yeah.
I am a psychologist, and initially I didn't know that there was the field of animal psychology. But in my university in Italy, I discovered this field of research with chicks, and I started to become interested in the fact that comparing different species, we can have a better understanding on how not only those animals, but also how humans evolve their abilities. And so I started to become interested in comparing the abilities of different species. And in fact, now in my lab, I study chicks, I study bumblebees, fruit flies. We also have experiments with tortoises. And recently we expanded also to artificial intelligence and robotics, because this ability to compare different skills, I think, can bring us forward in our understanding of different species, including humans, and also to create technology that is more helpful for what we need.